Welcome back to another Spirit Island video. In this video, we're going to be continuing our series of Is This Spirit for You? Now, as you can see here, we're going to be playing with one of the nature incarnate spirits, Ember-Eyed Behemoth. Now, there's a couple things that I want to mention before I talk about the spirit. First, we currently have the mod completely updated. Well, not completely, but this is the best we're going to do for now. We have all the spirits up here, and then all of the new aspects over here with the corresponding spirits. Now, some of the artwork, it's not the best, as you can see. It's kind of just photoshopped. Ideally, we want to get it nice and crisp down the road, but this is what we're going to use for these starting videos so that people can at least see the new cards and what they do. The next thing is Behemoth is an Incarna spirit. I'm not going to explain what Incarnas do in this video. I'll leave my Incarna video in the description if you want to see the Incarna rules and how Incarna spirits function. Okay. With that said, let's get started looking at Ember-Eyed Behemoth. Now, the setup is two presence and the Incarna, unempowered, side up, and the highest numbered wetland on your starting board that is adjacent to any jungle. Now, this is really cool because that means based on where your board is relative to other boards, you may start in a different location on that board. And I find that to be very interesting. It can make games very unique, which is something that a lot of spirits they don't have once you play that spirit a lot of times on a particular board. Now the play style is it slowly but consistently stomps its Incarna around the island, smashing invaders. Dahan can keep clear unless the behemoth gets really going, and it benefits from spread out sacred sites both for targeting powers and for moving its Incarna long distances. Adding presence at its Incarna, which can count as presence, can make it easier to get presence into new lands, particularly non-jungle. So what this is saying is that you can move to sacred sites easily, and you can add presence to your Incarna, which can set up those sacred sites down the road. Now this is a moderate complexity spirit. It's actually low, I would say it's low complexity moderate based on this bar. And looking at the summary of powers, it's a very high offense. It has some control, little fear, little defense, and high utility. And it uses the Incarna, Badlands, and Wilds. Now, looking at the summary of powers, I would probably, if I had to make a slight adjustment, I'd probably increase the fear a little bit, like that. And I probably would, I think that's probably fine. I think defense and utility are pretty on point. Now, looking at the cards, I'm going to actually read through these cards because this might be the first time you've seen them. So the first one is Blazing Intimidation. It's a 2-cost fire plant animal. It's a 1 energy fast. It gives us 1 fear. And it's going to push 2 things to a land without the Incarna. And first, I know you probably can't see it, the image, but I love how it's pushing 2 invaders, and there's 2 invaders in the image. And this is going to contribute to our fear, as well as some of that control, or the control, and then some of that fear. The next card is Exaltation of Grasping Roots. It's a 0-cost moon, fire, earth plant. It says target spirit may add wilds in one of their lands. Now it is an exaltation effect, which means you also get to do that. And this is where that utility comes into play, and is essentially adding 2 wilds tokens for 0 cost, and it's a perfect element card. Surging Lahar. This is a 2 energy slow power, fire, water, earth, 1 range from a sacred site. It says 2 damage. If your presence is present, you may add a Badlands. Now it's important to point out the damage is occurring before the Badlands, so you would get 2 damage and then a Badlands add. You wouldn't do the Badlands first and the 2 damage after. So remember, we read cards from top to bottom. And it's important to point out that it is a sacred site targeting range, and when our behemoth empowers, it becomes a sacred site. I guess there we go. So unempowered, empowered, and the way I'm doing this is by clicking 1 and 2 on my keyboard. And the final card here is Terrifying Rampage. It's 1-cost moon, fire, earth. This is the card that was already revealed to us, except there's a slight modification. It's going to generate 1 fear, so 1 fear. And then it says 2 invaders do not participate in Ravage. And then you may push 3 to Han. I really love this card. I mean, it's essentially a Ravage skip in a way, but the Dahan push makes it also utility in the mid late game, especially with other spirits that need Dahan movement. You can just kind of throw this card out there and use it as a way to move Dahan. Overall, I mean, I love Behemoth's uniques. They're very, in my opinion, very easy to grasp and combo with the spirits kit. Okay, let's look at the growth pattern here. Behemoth has a unique growth pattern. It's a 0 to 1, and then it has a essentially another 0, and that's the empowerment. I'm going to first look at the special rule before I talk about the growth options. It has this Behemoth Rises, and it says that you get to start the game with an Incarna, and then once per turn during the slow or the fast or slow phase, you may push the Incarna or add the Incarna. When this says add, that means bring the Incarna back onto the board if it was destroyed. So you may add it or move the Incarna to any of your sacred sites on the island. So, and that's kind of jumping back to that playstyle where it benefits from spread out sacred sites. So if I have sacred sites over here, well, now I can jump the Incarna over there once a turn. Remember, you can move the Incarna, you can either push it once, or you can teleport it to a sacred site. Now it says Unrelenting Strides. It says on any turn that you don't use the innate, this is the innate, you may use Behemoth Rises again. So if you're not using your innate, it allows you to move the Incarna twice. That means I could push it twice, or I could teleport it, push it, or teleport it, teleport it. Looking at the growth options, as I said, it's a 0-2-1-0. You're reclaiming, gaining a power card, placing 2 presence. Very important to point out that you place the presence in jungle or a land where you have presence. Remember, the Incarna counts as a presence, so just what the playstyle was saying, you could add presence to your Incarna. So I can have my Incarna in a non-jungle, add the presence to my Incarna, and then add the presence again. So essentially, wherever my Incarna is, I can add those 2 presence. And then finally, you have this third growth option, which is you gain a power card, place a presence, gain 3 energy, and then discard a card with fire. This is a very unique growth option. What's really interesting is that you can choose the order of this growth option in any order. So you can choose to discard a card with fire first. Well, at the time of recording this video, I believe you're able to. Now, maybe this might get changed in the future. So that's really interesting. If you have no cards in hand, you can discard a card first and then gain a power card, which is pretty cool. Now, the card has to have fire if you're discarding it. So if you have no fire cards, oh, you don't have to discard a card. Now, the last growth option here, it's essentially another reclaim, except instead of gaining a power, you empower and you get a free move on the Incarna. Now, this free move is only once. The empowerment is forever. And what the empowerment lets you do is first, it makes the Incarna count as a sacred site. And second, it allows you to use your innate twice. Looking at the tracks here, we end at 5-4, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements: 3 fire, an earth, and a plant. Majors work, minors work, mixed tracks work. There's so many unique builds. This is one of the spirits that I spent a lot of time playtesting. So I made sure that there is a variety of options and ways to play the spirit. And when I say made sure, I made sure that my feedback to the devs was indicating that there were multiple build paths. Of course, at the end of the day, it is their decision on what they would like the spirit to end up as. All I do is just give them my advice, give them my feedback, and they take it with what and make changes if they desire. Lastly, let's look at the innate. It is a damage innate, and it has to occur at that Incarna. This is a mistake I see a lot of players make. They see 0 range, and they're like, oh, I have. If they get a range boost this turn, they may think, oh, I can hit a different land. But no, you have to choose the Incarna. We already mentioned if it's empowered, you can repeat this effect. What's really cool is you can repeat the effect, and it doesn't have to be in the same land. So I could use the innate, then use my special rule to move the Behemoth, and then I can use the innate again. And that's one of my favorite things to do with the spirit, just stomp all over the invaders. And just looking at the innate, it is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage when it's maxed out, plus 1 fear. And if you repeat it, then you would essentially get 12 damage total and 2 fear. And it also gives you a little bit of Dahan movement there. And if you max it out, you're also going to be killing some Dahan. Overall, I mean, I really love the spirit. This is, I would say, looking at all of the nature incarnate spirits, I'd probably put it in my top 4. I really like simple, basic spirits, and the spirit falls right into that category. If you like this video, like, subscribe for more content. I'll be going through all of the nature incarnate spirits in these intro videos, and then we'll start covering the aspects after that. These videos will go a little bit longer just because I'm going to be talking through the uniques, just so everybody can see every little piece of the spirit for those that don't have access to the content. And then there will be strategy guides. I will be talking about combos, all of that, just in the future. I will see you guys in the next video.